Okay, so I want to talk today about just how we handle our nerves and how we respond to pressure when things like before a big game or just before an outing, especially for, like for those of us that maybe aren't throwing a ton and we do finally get an opportunity, how do we handle that? Kind of feeling the pressure a little bit because I know sometimes when guys don't get like to play, like they're not set in stone with their schedule, with their throwing schedule, and they might just get like an inning here, an inning there. They can start to put more pressure on themselves to perform, and they start to think more about, okay, if I do well here, then I'll get another opportunity, and then if I do well there, then I'll get another opportunity, right? And then we start to think about things that are happening in the future, and then we get off of like our mind gets away from the present moment, and then we struggle, and it just becomes this self-fulfilling prophecy where we're thinking, ooh, I need to perform right now so that way I get another opportunity. But then you're not in the present moment, and then you don't perform well in that present moment, and then you don't get another opportunity because you didn't perform well. Does that make sense? um, I just know a lot of guys fall victim to that. And so I just want to talk about, you know, what are nerves and how do we handle those situations? How do we handle pressure situations, whether it's feeling the pressure just from not throwing a ton, or when we do get in a big situation, second and third, two outs, we got to get an out. How do we handle those moments? And I think what people need to understand is that nerves are completely normal, right? There's really it's not you're not it's not out of the ordinary for you to feel nervous in a big pressure situation. Actually, it would actually be weird if you didn't feel nervous in those moments. And so I just want to talk about how do we respond to these nerves because there's really two different ways that we can do it. And so we'll get into all of that. But what I really wanted to start with is just that nerves are normal. And, we have this quote here that says champions aren't those who never feel nervous. They're the ones who recognize their nerves and then respond effectively. So we can let those nerves cripple us, right? We can let those nerves, start to get our mind away from the present moment, start to create worry and doubt. Or we can say, hey, this is exciting. These nerves are normal. And we use that to actually help boost our performance. So nerves are a universal experience. So every elite performer feels nerves, whether you're a professional athlete before a big game, a musician before a concert, surgeons before big procedures, any speaker before a presentation. I mean, even when I'm talking to you guys here, like I kind of get a little nervous. Like I want it to go well. I want you guys to get something out of it, feel like it's worth your time, right? That's important to me. And so, um, I think it's just important to recognize that nerves are a completely normal thing, right? Even like I don't want to make this about me, but when I was in high school and we were playing a big game, like I knew that I was better than everyone else, but I still got nervous, right? And so just know that elite performers are just it's a normal response. I was reading a book and they were talking about this expert pianist. So this person had been playing the piano for years and years and years, and they were like concert level professional piano player. And even though they've been playing the piano for decades, like decades upon decades, before a big concert, they still felt those nerves. And you would think that someone who had been in those situations, had prepared, had been playing the piano forever, right, that they wouldn't feel nervous, but even they felt nervous in those moments. And so I think we just need to recognize that it's a normal thing to feel. Um, and she talked about not trying to eliminate those nerves, but just recognizing them and working with them and then channeling that nervous energy into peak performance. And so that's really what I want to get into today. So let's just talk about like these patterns that we fall into when we get nervous. So um, I call this the pressure fingerprint. I don't call it the pressure fingerprint. Someone a lot smarter than me came up with it, but how you respond to pressure in one area reflects how you respond everywhere. So your pressure fingerprint is basically going to be consistent across different situations. So if you're feeling the pressure, whether it's, coming up to a big test, second and third, one out, got to get a strikeout, right, to save a game. Um, whether it's asking a girl out on a date, it really doesn't matter. All like our body kind of enters that fight or flight mode the same way every time. And so, everyone kind of responds differently. Some guys really speed up, like they get going really fast. They start talking fast. You ask that girl out on a date and it's like super fast and super uncomfortable and you just go really, really quick. You guys know what I'm talking about? Okay. Some other people freeze, they hesitate, they have a lot of self-doubt, they kind of lock up. Other ones overthink, they maybe start to try and make a bunch of mechanical adjustments mid-game. And then other ones get angry, especially when things don't go well or they have some sort of mistake. They have a big emotional reaction. For me, I tended to rush things and overthink things. That was kind of my, when I felt pressure and I wasn't prepared to handle it, those were kind of my two default responses that I would go into. Do you guys find yourself identifying with one of these four more than others?
I get angry, I think.
Okay. Gabe?
I used to get angry, now I overthink.
Okay. So what's really important is just so we understand, like we start to recognize those things. So Grayson, you start to find yourself getting angry and upset. We got to say, okay, that's kind of my trigger. I need to come up with some sort of routine that helps me get back away from that. Right. Gabe, you could kind of be the same way, or you find yourself kind of in that overthinking mode. Maybe you need to go to more think box, play box type of routine in order to get out of it. And so this is what I actually wanted to do with the bucket. So I think it's really important that we create an awareness around when we feel nervous and when we're under pressure and how we respond to it. So there's different ways that we can react. We can react physically, mentally, or behaviorally. And a physical reaction could be increased heart rate, shallow breathing. We tense up. It could be in our shoulders and our neck and our hands, sweaty palms. These are all physical reactions that we could have. Our mental reactions could be, racing thoughts. Our mind starts to really get going. Maybe it's on the other end and we start to have a lot of doubt. Our self-talk is poor. We have negative predictions like I can't do this or I don't think I can get the job done here. Our focus shifts away from execution and we start to think about mechanics. Hey, what am I doing with my glove side? What am I doing with my lower half? Let me get that part right because that will help me make the perfect pitch. When really we just need to free ourselves up and throw and execute, right? Or we could have behavioral changes. So maybe we start working super fast. We have this change in rhythm and tempo, right? We lose some of that fluidity, right? Maybe we get away from our routines and we start to kind of go off script a little bit and get away from the things that work for us. So there's really these three different reactions that we can fall into, and it can be all of them, it can be none of them, it can be just a few of them. But these are the things that, as you go throughout the week, and if you think back, like I really want you to reflect on your outing so far this year. Did you fall into any of these? Did you have any of these that you fell into when things didn't go well? And I know, like Grayson, you threw really well last week, right? Gabe, you've been throwing pretty well too, which is good. Are there any of these that we really notice we have a tendency to fall into?
I sweat.
You
That's
sweat a lot anyway.
yeah.
You're probably sweating right now.
I think I am actually. It's pretty hot down in my basement right now.
I know for me, like increased heart rate, shallow breathing, like I would get kind of shaky. Mentally, I would say a lot of doubt and negative predictions for me, a lot of hoping sometimes. In terms of behavior for me, it would be like a change in rhythm or tempo, like working super fast and getting really sped up. I think those are kind of the reactions that I get into. Um, I start to like kind of short arm everything. So instead of like being aggressive with it, I try to start aiming at things and guiding it. Those are kind of the mechanical things that I fall into or would fall into. But anything for you, Grayson?
I think I get tense.
Okay. So here's what we're gonna do. This is where the bucket and the baseballs come in. All right. So what I want to do, and this is very simple. Um, you can do this really anytime, and it's a really good way to figure out how do we respond to pressure. So that's why I wanted to put some money on the line because it's going to be 1v1, which is the two of us. Okay, but even if you're watching the recordings, I'm just going to say this because people are going to watch the recording. Even if you're watching the recording, I challenge you to go back and just do this and see how you feel when you start to get uncomfortable. So the bucket drill is really just trying to figure out what your personal response to pressure is. So whether you're throwing a pitch or trying to throw the baseball in the bucket, like we're going to here in a second, everyone starts to have this individualized response to pressure. Okay, we all have kind of these individual differences that we have physically. You know, Grayson, you're tall and lanky. Gabe, you're a little bit shorter and stockier, right? That affects our mechanics. We also have kind of our own pressure fingerprints, so everyone kind of responds to pressure in their own way. So this is how we're going to do this. So if you guys have three baseballs in your bucket, you guys have that with you right now? Okay. So I'm just going to kind of instruct you on what to do. You have to stand up. And all I want you to do is pick up one of the baseballs, but we're just going to see who can get the farthest away from the bucket and make the shot with the three baseballs that they have. So everyone and their dog, when they pick up baseballs, does the old Kobe and then tries to make it, right? That's essentially what we're doing, but we're going to back up and see who can get the farthest. So all I want you to do is just literally stand next to the bucket. And if you have your phone on you, if you can flip your camera around, I want to see the bucket. Is that possible to do? Perfect. Okay, so get three baseballs. Okay, and you're literally just going to stand over the bucket with a baseball and you're going to drop it in. Okay, perfect. Everyone make it? Gabe, Grayson? You
Yeah.
guys made it in, right? Okay, perfect. All right, so from there, you're going to take one step back and you only get three baseballs. We got to see who can make it. Okay, so shoot your shot. You can give me a little Kobe if you want. All right. So gave us how yours went in.
Yeah.
Great. Grayson, did you make it?
Yeah.
Okay. How do we feel right now? Confident that we can make
Yeah.
it?
Pretty
Yeah.
confident.
Okay, pretty easy, right? Okay, let's take another step back. Okay, you got three baseballs, so you get three shots to make it. Let's see it. Good, Gabe? Good. So we both made it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're gonna keep going back. The winner's gonna get 20 bucks. All right, we're gonna keep going back until we have a winner. But here's what I want you to pay attention to. So as we get further back, we're gonna get more and more uncomfortable, right? It's gonna be harder to make the shot. And I just want to think about, where does your mind start to go as you know, like, hey, I got to make the shot for the $20. Where do I feel tension? Do I feel it in my legs? Do I feel it in my shoulders? Does my mind start to go more towards, okay, let's be careful with how I'm throwing the baseball? Do you know what I'm saying? Do I start to think more about the mechanics of shooting it or just throwing to the target? Those are the things I want you to think about as we move back and away from what's high confidence comfort zone to something where it's a little bit outside our comfort zone. You got me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if we took our step back, let's do another one. Gabe, you made it, right?
Yeah.
I missed my first one.
Okay, let's see it.
Made the
Did you
second
get it?
one.
Okay,
Yeah.
pick them up. We're gonna go one step further. So what are we at? Three steps back or four?
Three.
Okay,
Now
so
we're at,
start at the bucket and take four steps back. So that way we're all in the same spot. No cheating here. You guys are good kids. I trust you. Okay, here we go. Let's see it. Oh, Gabe.
I made it.
Gabe, did you make it?
yeah.
Okay. If you made it, just say you made it. Okay, let's pick them up. Grab three baseballs, five steps back. How are we feeling? We still feel like it's pretty easy?
Yeah.
Yeah, for the most part, yeah.
Okay, go six.
We're at an angle. You got a couch right here, so
Yep, do what you can.
yeah. I'm right here.
I made
Oh,
it.
I missed.
All right.
Made it.
Okay, here we go. Pick them up. Seven steps. How are we feeling?
All right, still.
I'm feeling all right.
Okay, here we go. 7 steps. Nope,
Just
missed it.
I missed my first one.
made it.
Gabe got it. All right, G.
Missed my second one.
Oh, here we go.
Well,
Oh,
it rimmed out. Yeah.
did it go in and hit
Yeah, it
baseball
was
to the
in.
bottom?
It was in, and it hit balls in it, and it came out.
Okay, Gabe, should we give that to him? I think we should.
I give it to him. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right, 8 steps. You guys are going a lot farther back than I thought you would.
Oh, this is a tough
This
shot
is,
right here.
yeah, this is gonna be tough.
Okay, let's see it.
Made it.
I made it. Yeah.
Oh, jeez. Easy. All right, 9. Now I know we're getting outside our comfort zone. Okay, let's go. Who wants it? $20 on the line. Oh, missed.
Missed.
Okay, number 2.
Missed the
Missed.
second one too.
Made it.
Made
Oh.
the third one.
All right, here we go. Okay, we're gonna go 11 steps. We're gonna go until someone misses, basically. So this might be it anyway, but
Yeah.
man, that is a shot. That's like half quarter.
Yeah, it's far.
Yeah.
Don't put a hole in your wall.
Missed it.
No, I missed my first one. Yikes.
Oh, missed it.
I missed all 3.
I missed all 3 as well.
Okay, go back up one. Okay, so let's go to 10, and we'll just grab a bunch and then go until someone misses, and we'll just do rebuttals. How are we feeling?
Fine.
Yeah, I'm all right.
Okay, even on that one. Okay, so as it starts to get far away, do you feel anything changing like internally?
Yeah, I feel like I'm trying to be
Yeah.
like trying to guide it in there, kind of.
Same.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, we'll just go 1v1. Just someone shoot. Gabe, you go first.
Missed.
Missed. Grayson.
I made it.
Oh,
Oh.
okay. So let's see. Yeah, okay. Grayson, you win. All right. But so the key there is, where did you start to go as you got deeper, as you got farther away?
I started to think about it more, but then on that last one I made, I didn't think, I just threw it.
And then it went right in.
Yeah.
Gabe, what about you?
I also started to think a little bit.
Okay. What were you thinking about?
Make the shot.
Okay. Well, that's good. So I think that right there even is kind of just an indicator. Like, you get in those situations where, hey, I need to perform well because I want another opportunity after this one, or I need to perform well because I need to just do a job for my team, right? I need to get us out of this jam. And it's easy for us to do the same thing we just did in the bucket drill, which is what? Starting to guide things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a default for a lot. I mean, for a lot of players, that's a default for me, right? It's a default for a lot, even in golf, right? You got to hit a big shot. What do you start to do? You start to guide everything, and then you're not. Then what does that guiding create? That guiding creates tension, and when we have tension in our body and we lose some of that fluidity, it's a lot harder to make the shot. It's a lot harder to. We lose velo, we lose command, right? And so it all starts with up here, especially in season. And so I think that drill is just a really good way, even if it's, I don't know, a couple times a week, just to like familiarize yourself with pressure and just say, okay, how am I going to handle this when we get into a game situation? You know what I'm saying? Especially if you haven't done anything with pressure in a while, go grab a buddy 1v1 and put something on it, put something on the line, just to get yourself learning how to handle that and handle those nerves. Make sense? So what does this mean? So really, we have two options when it comes to nerves, right? We can fight them. So all that does though is it just adds another layer of stress, requires energy. Okay. All of this takes away from our ability to compete and really just makes things worse. Okay. If you try and say, oh, I'm not nervous, right? Or just try and say like act like it's not a big deal, like really just doesn't help at all. Okay. And then embracing nerves. So reframing them as energy. Okay. Remember your body doesn't really know the difference. Okay. It's just feeling stress and it's preparing itself the only way that it knows how, which is fight or flight. And so that fight or flight is to help you because we're ancient animals. Okay. It's to help us fight off a bear or something, right? Back in the ancient times. Well, now it's a baseball game. And so we can use that and say, okay, this is just energy for me to go out and perform at a high level. Okay. And when we focus on performance, it conserves mental resources, creates adaptability. All right. But really just think about it like, hey, this is helpful. These nerves are helping me right now. And if you think of it that way, it's a lot better. It's a lot easier, more easier to manage. Does that make sense? Okay, so depending on the type of player that you are. So if I think it's just important that we understand like what works for Gabe isn't going to work for Grayson. What works for Grayson's not going to work for me. Okay. Everyone has their own way of responding. Everyone has their own pressure fingerprint, right? So if you are someone that really speeds up a lot, then developing some sort of breathing routine can be really helpful. Okay. Something that you can go to just big belly breaths. Okay, that kind of slows things down, or some sort of physical slow down anchor. Maybe it's taking a lap around the mound. It's something I've given to a lot before, or building pauses into your pre-pitch routine. One thing that actually worked for me was like I used to think like working faster was better, but sometimes it would just like create this snowball effect where I would go faster and faster and faster, and it would just get worse and worse and worse to where for me, I actually needed to like step off the mound, take a deep breath and slow things down. And my version of working fast was by throwing just a ton of strikes, right? Because if every guy's an 0-2-1-2 and I'm getting guys on or off, on or out in 3 pitches or less, that is also working fast for your defense. Do you know what I'm saying? But between pitches and between hitters, I was like really trying to slow things down so I wasn't getting sped up. So the games were still fast, but I was moving slow, if that makes sense. And so you kind of have to figure out what works for you. So that was more for me. Grayson, I actually think that you're a little bit better when you're moving quick. Okay. When you like, would you agree?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So it just really just depends on the athlete, right? We all have our own pressure fingerprint. If you're an overthinker, Gabe, so maybe this is you, like maybe you're more in that think box, play box that we talked about last week, where as soon as I'm on the rubber, that's my reset button and I'm just competing. I'm not thinking. Okay. And we have maybe our mental trigger isn't so much to slow down, but just to clear our mind. Right. So that could be taking my hat off and just pulling like swiping my hair back, like I'm just swiping away the last pitch, or I'm cleaning off the rubber, right? Cleaning the turf off the rubber can be an easy way to symbolize I cleared the last pitch and now I'm on to the next one. Right. If you're someone that tenses up, maybe it's muscle relaxation type things, or just focusing on being super smooth and fluid. Yeah, I think that's probably the one that's going to be the most helpful for people, right? Or having some rhythm. You hear people that will listen to some of their favorite music, or they'll sing a song just to help them feel relaxed as they're throwing and kind of find that rhythm and fluidity, kind of like they're doing a dance, if you will. So really, you just have to figure out what works for you. But these are just some ideas that you can follow. And then you have to practice it. So whether it's the bucket drill, manufacturing pressure and practice, increasing stakes in controlled environments, that's kind of what we just did. Okay, track your response patterns and improvement, and then just celebrate your successes of actually managing your nerves. And just like I said, we want to reframe our nerves not as the enemy, but just our body preparing to perform. And if you think of it like, hey, my body doesn't know the difference between excitement and nervousness, it's just out there. It's just preparing for battle or fight or flight or some sort of high pressure situation. It doesn't know if it's nerves or excitement. They're the same thing. And so only like your interpretation is what makes nerves good or bad. If you're worried about the future and worried about things that are to come, then yeah, you're thinking it is bad. But if you're thinking, ooh, my body's preparing for me to go out and compete and shove it down the other team's throat, that's a good way of reframing it. Okay. And so the ones that are the best elite performers, they welcome these sensations as signs of readiness. Okay, so just I think that can be really helpful for all of us, especially as we get more opportunities, or we're waiting for opportunities, or we get into May when the stakes are high, districts and state, right? And just knowing how to handle the pressure situations, I think, can be helpful. So there's some takeaways. Okay, everyone experiences nerves, even the best. Your response pattern is consistent across situations. So it doesn't matter if it's the bucket drill, doesn't matter if it's a test, doesn't matter if it's second and third, 2 outs, need a strikeout, need an out. Okay, it's the same way. The first thing that we need to do is become aware. So notice when you start to overthink, notice when you're starting to get angry, notice when you're starting to guide things. And then from there, then we go to our counter strategies that we have that work based on what our blueprint is, or what our fingerprint is. Okay. And then, like I said, the more we expose ourselves to it, the better we'll be able to handle it. And we want to reframe our nerves as performance energy. Okay. It's here to help us, not to make us worse. Make sense? So really for this week, this is probably the one that I want you to start to really pay attention to. Okay. Create some pressure situations, whether that's in a game or not, but just notice your pressure fingerprint this week, and start to come up with ways that you can battle that, or not, and maybe not so much battle it, but respond to it. Okay. Because we don't necessarily want to fight it. We just want to know and become aware of how we typically respond, and then create strategies that help us handle it and respond to it well.